Good morning. It's Saturday. It's the morning. We're here. We're vibing. Poseidon actually woke up 7 minutes ago. So it's not that impressive. First, we have no Phil today. Phil was last seen negotiating something with Nike, and then we haven't heard about him since. So that's suspicious. But we do have our boy, George Tadrizo, telling us the news. George, welcome. Welcome aboard this morning.
What's going on?
I guess first, before we get to the news, we should show off the abominable snowman, Poseidon. Oh, you had time? I see that. You had time to put that thing over yourself first. Okay. Because he was shirtless moments ago. There was no shirt on that man.
You know what happened?
Yeah.
I woke up at 8:55 and my alarm was for 9.
Right? And you're like, fuck, I'm so much better than my alarm.
No, so I wake up, I'm like, oh, nice. I woke up right before my alarm because I've been putting it lately at 9 a.m. now, every day.
Yeah.
So I wake up at 8:55. I'm like, I got 5 more minutes. So I go back to sleep.
Rookie mistake, bro.
Big mistake.
All right. Well, Poseidon, enough of your morning routine. George has some hard-hitting news for us. A lot of Trudeau bitchiness. So let's get to it. Mr. George, bring us the news.
What's going on? All right. So this week, the long-awaited return of Canada to the UN Security Council that Justin Trudeau has been promising since 2015, 2016 just didn't happen after Canada failed to secure the required 2/3 of the votes from the other member nations. So for those that don't know, the Security Council is one of the main organs of the UN. And arguably the most influential one.
Yeah. The most influential organ is their peacekeeping penises that head out to Haiti and abduct young children and rape them. Keep going.
Sure. Arguably it's the most influential one since its primary responsibility is the maintenance of international peace and security. Yeah. It has 5 permanent members, so France, UK, China, Russia, and the US, and it has 10 non-permanent members that get elected for a 2-year term. So the news drops this week that Canada failed again to secure a seat, and almost immediately my Twitter and Facebook feeds fill up, with conservative and liberal friends just going at each other, which honestly it was to be expected. But here's something that struck me particularly, and I'm sorry to all my liberal friends, but they kept using the argument that conservatives had the seat and they lost it, while we the liberals were just trying to fix your mistakes still. So let's get one thing straight, all right? The reason we lost the seat in 2010 and now in 2020 is the exact same reason. We had very poor international diplomacy to garner the required support to secure our seat. That's it. That's
what the hell are you talking about? Our prime minister went to India like a cool guy, got dressed like an Indian, was dancing.
Exactly.
We tried our best, Phil. We tried our best.
We had very poor diplomacy. So it's the only reason, and that's it. So we failed for the exact same reasons, both under Harper in 2010 and under Trudeau now in 2020. And if we really want to compare, the Harper government failed with 114 votes, while the Trudeau government failed with 108.
Oh, shit.
So if anything, the Trudeau government failed worse. All right. So I sincerely think that after 5 years in power, perhaps it's about time, to stop blaming the conservatives and start looking at their own track record.
Also, okay? I believe our debt has run up to $1 trillion now.
Exactly. So another thing that struck me is the incredible bias of the Canadian media in favor of the Liberal government.
Thank you, George.
It's shocking to me. And, I remember in 2010, the Harper government getting blasted in the media for what they called, and I quote, a deep embarrassment for Harper.
I'm bringing up a photo of the Globe and Mail comparison right now, George. You can tell the guys what they're watching on their screen. It is Globe and Mail, the embarrassment of Harper, and then how they took the news of Trudeau side by side. Trudeau, they said, Canada loses bid for a seat at the United Nations Security Council, whereas the same newspaper wrote Security Council rejection, a deep embarrassment for Harper.
You know what I mean? So, and we just went over the figures. I mean, Trudeau's loss is arguably way worse than the Harper one, So I find that, where are these journalists now? Those same journalists that were bashing the Harper government in 2010. Where are they now? And I just find that the Liberals, they often get a free pass And the results in general, they're catastrophic compared to the previous government. I mean, our relations with the US have worsened. So have our relations with China. By the way, where we still have 2 Canadian nationals being held in prison for no good reason.
Yeah.
We're being slapped around and embarrassed during our international trade negotiations. We still fail to get international support at the UN. And let's not even talk about our domestic finances, right? So, I mean, we have a horrible track record, and yet nobody really talks about these things. But to get back to the UN snubbing, here's what I think. And I feel bad saying these things because I spent a lot of years, studying and, even working in international organizations. The UN, in my opinion, has lost enormous credibility with its consistent failure to uphold international peace and security. It has failed in finding viable solutions to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, as well as the Turkish Cypriot issue. Major failure in protecting Muslims from being massacred during the war in Bosnia. Still no solution in the Somalian civil war. Complete failure in the Rwandan civil war. The worst ethnic genocide after World War II, the lack of humanitarian aid and support to the millions of displaced in Sudan, not nearly enough being done in Yemen or in Syria, which is probably even more relevant now in the news. And the list just goes on and on and on. The UN is continuously criticized internationally for being like a little donors club serving each other's domestic and international interests. Like, how much sense does it make for countries like Saudi Arabia to even be allowed to sit on the UN's Human Rights Council?
Yeah, and the women's rights one, that was the best.
No, but how much sense does that make,
It doesn't. And I'm reading right now, the scale of sex abuse at the hands of UN workers could be huge. The shocking fact is pedophiles target 8 organizations. So remember, this has been coming out for years, and they went to Haiti too. That's what I was referencing in the beginning. So they've done a lot more bad than good, the United Abominations. And it's about time that you guys get on my level, because I've been saying this since the early 2000s, and it was just like, you're a conspiracy theorist. But now, I'm just that loud asshole.
I mean, these are facts. I mean, look, we all saw during this pandemic, the multiple controversies of the World Health Organization. Just weeks ago, there was an attempt to intercept a Turkish vessel suspected of bringing arms to Libya, despite the UN arms embargo in Libya. And we find out this week that a former Turkish diplomat and cabinet minister was voted to preside the UN's next General Assembly session. And
did you see what happened last week? France tried to intercept another boat that they thought, this was a French frigate that they thought might be bringing weapons. And the Turkish army did those 3, because they do like 3 warnings before they airstrike you.
Yeah.
So, and to their NATO ally, France, they were threatening their NATO ally, France, for trying to. It is nonsense. And also, I sent the tweet out yesterday, Trudeau, who he's talking about, I didn't get a seat on the Security Council, but he also is offering to send those drone cameras, those drone optics to Turkey, even though there's an embargo right now on sending them any type of, military, radars or guns or anything like that, and he's still fucking doing it. So this guy cares nothing about security.
Yeah, and I was going to talk about that actually. But the other example is India. India was among the countries that was voted into the UN Security Council. And although and I can understand the joy of many of my Indian friends, I have a lot of Indian friends. I know the community quite well. I'm very sorry, but anyone. But for anyone that that isn't following the news coming out of India these days, Muslims are being killed almost every day. The Sikh Indians have yet to find justice for their persecutions, in the 80s and 90s. But over at the UN, we turn a blind eye. So a message to all the Canadian friends that are watching this. Okay, who cares about the seat at the Security Council? Okay, it has done nothing to protect these people, and its track record is getting worse year after year. So why would we even want Canada in this group? I mean, do we really think, had we got in the seat, of course, that we can stand up and be accountable?
No.
For the Security Council's actions, or even, or rather lack of action, right?
Yeah, not a chance.
We have a prime minister that refuses to start up the parliament to take care of our own domestic issues.
Exactly.
I mean, and we think we're ready to take a stand on the international stage. I mean, how can we go out there and advocate for human rights when in Canada over 20% of our children don't get 3 meals a day?
I like Bearded George. Bearded George is a fucking rebel fighter. I like him.
No, but I mean, there's certain issues that we have to just talk about the facts. When we still have employment and salary inequalities between men and women, when we continue to disregard our First Nations, when our own political leaders are coming out accepting that there's still racism within our institutions, when we come out criticizing countries like Saudi Arabia and Turkey for their human rights abuses, but behind closed doors, we're still selling arms to them, right? So
I think you're overreacting. Trudeau took a knee last week. That solved everything.
No, but we have to talk about these things because people think that it's the big deal and we got snubbed by the UN. Who cares? Okay, we have our own issues here at home. Let's take care of our own house before we tell people what
we got snubbed by a bunch of pedophiles. That's the best snub ever.
No, but here's an idea, and we'll close on this. How about we focus on getting our own shit in order before we tell others what to do? Okay, yeah. How about we focus on really becoming the example that we want to advocate? And look, I don't believe in perfection. I don't think perfection exists, but I definitely believe in striving towards it because obviously there's that room for improvement. So how about we focus on becoming so great that they beg us to be on the table rather than us pleading our international partners for their support? Maybe, just maybe, is it possible that we just didn't deserve that seat? That's all I'm saying. And I mean, look, that's all I have to say. I mean, I've been following this thing for the whole week, and I'm just tired. I'm tired of everything happening and people talking about the UN as if it's this big great thing. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, it's time we just open our eyes, pull the curtain, and just look at what the reality is. I mean, it's all theatrics, and don't forget that Justin is getting ready for another election. This is something that he's been planning as a personal thing. It's like another notch on his belt, right? But he failed. I mean, he flat out failed, and not only that, he failed worse than the Conservatives. Let's just understand that, and these are facts, right?
This is amazing, George. Welcome to Pantelis' reality circa 2007. Welcome. It just took a while. I'm glad I was fucking consistent and persistent.
We don't always agree, but when facts have to come to light, I mean, you can't really ignore them, right? And the other thing, and this is something that you brought to my attention that you wanted to discuss about. I mean, I don't know much about this because it's not really an industry that I follow. But
I thought it would be hilarious if you tackle it.
You know what I mean? I don't really tackle these issues, but obviously more allegations of sexual misconduct coming out of Hollywood. Popular comedian actor Chris D'Elia and popular famous actor Danny Masterson, famous for his role in the '70s Show and the Netflix series The Ranch, which actually I watched and it's pretty good. Look, I don't know. I really honestly don't know what to say. I mean, regarding
they're both
Danny
different
Masterson,
cases.
Yeah, different cases. Danny Masterson, we're talking about back in 2001, 2003. Obviously, both are they're claiming their innocence, obviously, and they're gonna fight it, and they're gonna. But I'm not sure if Chris D'Elia is actually charged. It's just people coming out, right?
Yeah, just people coming out, and all the stuff that was coming out. There was some like stories about him soliciting, these texts and photos from chicks. But the thing is, but the only time that you see him acknowledge that, the one that I saw, that she's underage, she says, I'm 17. He's like, oh, you're too young. And then he doesn't continue the discussion anymore. Do you know what I mean? So anytime so that's why I'm like, I don't know what this is exactly. Because apparently he hits up chicks whenever he goes to a new city, like just fills up the DMs of everyone that he sees is from that city and then goes on. So he's casting a wide net. It doesn't look like he's targeting, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes out of this because you never know. We might find out that it's even worse, or we might find out it's just this. Or this is just the meat. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't like the idea of jumping on board. All right, cancel this, and then before we know all the facts, because if we're wrong, we can't take it back. We ruin people's lives. And then you saw in Parliament. We know a guy who was in Parliament, and the same thing. Allegations came out. Yeah. They got I guess not Parliament, but our National Assembly, and then they got rid of him. He lost everything. And what's crazy is after he was found out to be like, all right, she was lying, it was too late. They wouldn't take him back. Like, well, your name is already sullied. So that's why I don't like just until we have the facts, just jumping in and.
Well, see, this is the issue, especially when you're a public figure. I mean, everyone is quick to judge. Everyone, the journalists, they jump all over this thing because obviously it's clickbait. It sells, right? But after, when the facts are all settled, I mean, if the guy's guilty, he's guilty.
Exactly. Yeah.
He should get punished for whatever he did, if ever he did it. But if you didn't, I mean, if the guy did nothing wrong, I mean, if he's innocent, nobody comes out to correct themselves. And look, we were wrong. We're sorry. We wrote something against you, and we take it back. That doesn't happen. because the credibility is already shot. You destroy careers, you destroy lives. I mean, look, Danny Masterson, he's married, he has a family. This is stuff that's going back to 2001, 2003, that surfaced, I think, a couple years ago when they canceled him out of the show.
But he is a Scientologist, so you never know.
That's what I think. No, but see, I read up on this, and this is what I find interesting, because you have Leah Remini attacking this guy and saying that he's been protected for so many years from the Church of Scientology, who has all this money, and they've kept the cops at bay. But again, Leah Remini, how credible is she? And we all know
she was in there. I like her. She was in there, and she you ever seen The King of Queens?
Yeah, she's great, but in the last couple of years, I mean, she clearly has a private agenda against the Church of Scientology. I don't know what the hell they did to her, but I mean,
all kinds of shit. They ruined her family.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you know the backstory?
Yeah, she went on Rogan and talked about the whole thing. It was a great episode. Say what you want, man. Fucking, it's comedians, it's Rogan, it's guys like that are willing to talk about this shit. That now we have documented, hours of audio or video of people talking about this kind of stuff. Because before, like I said, in 2007, when I was talking about the UN and I was talking about, sex trafficking, people were like, these are just conspiracy theories, man. Because anything that wasn't the main branches of, let's say, the media was considered just fake news on the fringe, alternative media. Yeah. But now that so much more is growing, and then there's credible people who decide to ask questions like, wait a second, this is fucking weird. Now it's coming to the forefront. Like, dude, Alex Jones said a lot of this shit. That's what's crazy. Alex Jones, who got deplatformed from everywhere, he said a lot of this shit for years. So again, that's why I'm saying it's worth listening when people speak. That's why now that this stuff's coming out, I'm like, oh, it's definitely worth listening. You got to hear, wait, what the fuck are they saying? What happened, right? But you can't just jump to conclusions. But where there's smoke, normally there is fire, Mr. Chandries.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And look, with regards to the UN, look, what's frustrating to me is that, and even some articles that I read, everyone goes back to the funding. How is that even important, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's saying, oh, well, Canada spent $2 million in courting their international partners, way more than Norway and Ireland. Like,
courting.
Courting, whatever.
But you're right. Like, it's like, take them out to dinner. Get the fuck out of here, man. We got our own problems. It's exactly what you said before. You hit it right on the head. We have our own fucking issues. We got to take care of those. Not fucking taking the Norwegian prime minister for a fucking date. This is stupid.
No, but you know what the thing is? It's come down to money. It's become, okay, who pays more and why is it even important? The funding. And you know what? And I don't agree with a lot of the stuff coming out of the U.S., but one thing that I tip my hat off is the White House cutting funding to the World Health Organization.
Goddamn right.
Maybe you need these kind of maneuvers to just send a message. So you know what? Things aren't done appropriately. There's a lack of transparency, and I'm pulling funding until you get your shit in order.
I'm all for that.
But at the same time, I mean, the same thing could be said about the UN Security Council. Which international partner looked into what's happening in the U.S.? Nobody's going to say anything. Nobody dares to say anything. Why? Because the U.S. is a permanent member of the Security Council, because they send hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars to the UN.
Yeah, because they pay for everything. So shut the fuck up. It's their. No, but how about this? How about you want more power or you want more control? How about you pay for some shit? Because me, you know what I felt bad about is when I noticed that the U.S. was actually footing the bill for a lot of these organizations, and they kept getting shafted as, you guys are shit, you guys are bad, you guys are this. Okay, yeah, we're all that. Okay, so fuck off, you pay for it. No, we need you to. No. Okay, so you pay for it. You don't like us, you pay for it. I understand that completely. You go out, you're buying dinner for all your friends, and they're talking shit about you. Okay, so pay for your own fucking dinner.
But what I'm saying also, what sucks is that you can't demand certain things in your favor because you are paying more than someone else. You understand? I mean, at some point there has to be some.
But it's not what's happening. It's just every time you ask a question, if you say something against the status quo, even if you're America, they come at you. They're like, you're asking this because of racism and fascism and all that. Like right now, if I bring up the fact that NATO, for example, Turkey and Greece are both NATO countries, right? It just came out. Turkey has plans. Their documents came out of how they want to invade Greece and Armenia and how they're going to do it military and all that. They keep invading our airspace.
I think.
Yeah, but they keep. But dude, that's not what two NATO ally countries should be doing. So clearly they're a threat. The UN should have been like, wait a second, you're trying to attack sovereign nations. You're invading their airspace. You're doing all this, but they do nothing. They're useless. We see it right now. Who the fuck is Greece bothering? They're useless.
they turn a blind eye because it's like, listen, this is the band-aid that we're not going to be the ones to pull off, right? I mean, no, we're not going to get involved with figure out your own issues, and this is why it's dangerous, and even for geopolitical reasons. You know, I mean, look, Turkey now bought arms from Canada. We're talking about drones and imaging with imaging technologies. What?
Yeah.
What the hell is
Trudeau's a
Canada
bitch.
doing? I mean, what is going on in that region, right? I mean, are they going to use that in Libya? Are they going to use that over the Mediterranean? Are they going to use it over Syria?
As far as I'm concerned, and every Greek, every Italian, everybody, first of all, who likes freedom should know that right now Trudeau picked the fucking side, okay? And he picked that side, the side that wants to fucking kill everyone and take over Greece and all that. So to me, he's right now an enemy. He's completely an enemy to me. He chose the side of violence. He chose the side of instability. And he chose the side of the people who just fucking said that they want to invade my goddamn country. So no, to me, this guy's blacklisted. This guy's a piece of garbage.
Look, there's just no accountability, right? I mean, like you're all, like you said, you are all allies in the same organization that primarily is there to defend, right, and to uphold peace. That's the whole point of NATO.
Yeah.
The whole point of the creation of NATO was to block the spread of Soviet communism, right? It was to block that whole wave coming in from the east. Okay, now you have two of your members that are each other's necks. First of all, why are they both in that same group when you know clearly that there are issues? Maybe you did it as a catalyst for peace. Maybe you thought, look, this is a venue for you guys to find common ground and finally find peaceful resolutions to your conflict. I get it. I understand. And maybe I even agree with that. But at some point...
But now that you see that it's not working, you see, first of all, we're talking about democratic countries, right?
Yeah.
The leader, because I'm not blaming the people, I'm blaming the leader. The leader of that country right now in Turkey is not a democratic person, right? He's a sultan, right? Yeah. Anytime an election doesn't go his way, he cancels it, fucking beats people up, puts people in jail, and then it's like, okay, now we're going to redo it. That is crazy that he's still allowed to be within even the United Nations, but to be part of NATO while acting like that. All that stuff to me is lunatic shit, you know? Threatening Greece every fucking second day. We're going to fucking drown you guys. We're going to fucking do this. We're going to do that. To me, it's crazy that and no one says anything. Everybody just turns a blind eye. Trudeau's selling him fucking weapons. Are you joking? You fucking joking. That's why this whole hypocrisy of Trudeau acting like he's the greatest and I just like peace and this and that, except he doesn't give a shit about indigenous people. Dude, he was talking shit he was saying about racism and how we got to do better fucking a few months after they beat the shit out of indigenous people that were trying to block a pipeline. Get the fuck out of here, man. It's all bullshit. It's all hypocrisy.
Well, look, the arms deals and everything, obviously you understand that within NATO, this is the whole point, right? I mean, this is all a business transaction,
right? But if you're not willing, if you wanted a job on the Security Council and you said that you're good enough, you could make some changes. If you're not willing to stand up when it matters and when you could make a change, because this is our technology, we could have said no, we don't want to sell to you because of all the fuck are you doing. He didn't stand up when he had the chance, so I don't trust him to stand up when he doesn't have the power.
And don't forget, I don't have the figures right now, but I think Turkey is like the third country on the list with which we sell arms to. I mean, like one of the most important, quote unquote clients, if you will. You know,
dude, Trudeau. When was it? A year ago? When was it when he was talking stuff about? He goes, "We need to empower women more. We got to take care of women around the world, and we can't negotiate with countries that don't take care of their women." And then 3 days later, he was selling shit to Saudi Arabia, selling arms to Saudi. Like it's just he's a piece of garbage, and people should know that he's a piece. And he's not a lone piece of garbage. A lot of these people that get in that position is because they put on a mask. They try to say the right talking points. They say the right thing. They tell them what to talk about, and they get in there. He's not an evil person that's different than everyone else. He's going with the status quo. That's why I don't like any of these politicians, because they all try to say the right thing to appease everyone, and then behind our backs, they do this. You think any Canadian would be proud to know that their government was contributing to this type of stuff? No. Canadians aren't like that.
But that's why the whole point is, guys, do we really want to be part of this group? I mean,
no.
Should we really care about the UN Security Council? I mean, when you pull the curtain and it doesn't take a genius. I mean, you take 30 minutes to just do some reading online, and you look up, the track record of the UN. It's horrible. I mean, it's horrible. They have failed consistently. It's not like, oh, we failed the mission. No, you've been failing consistently since the 60s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, man, George, I'm so glad you're on my team now. It's great.
No, but and look, with regards to the UN, I remember back in university, I had even written a paper on the inefficiency of the UN to act as a catalyst for peace in the Turkish Cypriot issue. It's still going on. It's still going on. I mean,
yeah, they still have half of the island occupied. It's occupied in a country that fucking the country that is the only one that recognizes the occupied zone. Right? Only one country recognized the occupied zone, the occupiers. It's fucking, and no one. That's what I'm saying is they don't do anything. So to me, it's bullshit. Why would you pay money into that if they're not going to take care of you when the time comes? It's the issue I have with the European Union in Greece right now. They don't take care of Greece. They let us get bullied, right? And then they expect us to be that fucking good member that pays all our taxes and gives them all our money and squeezes everything out of our citizens. Suicide rates go up so that they can be happy, but they don't help us when the time comes. Where the fuck's Germany? I know that Germany's historically always been allied with Turkey, so they're probably going to take that side if ever there's a war. But that's cool. They're the ones who are going to be the reason why the European Union breaks up into North and South again. That's what's going to end up happening. Because the South, you think Italy's going to stand? You think Italy's going to attack Greece if they go to war with Turkey? That's not going to fucking happen. Germany's going to be on their own. Even Austria, I think, will take our side over Germany.
Look, I think if it ever comes to that, which I hope it doesn't.
I hope it doesn't, because I got a comedy career, George. All right, I'm gonna have to fly down there, go to war. You think the comedy community here is gonna be happy?
Exactly. You're gonna make it. You're gonna make it over there. You're gonna make the troops laugh. No, but I think the European nations are pretty much gonna come together. And look, in their defense, in the last conflict that we saw at the beginning of the year, when they were trying to force all those quote unquote refugees into Greece's border, there was quite a bit of support that came down, right, from different nations. Probably not all of them, but yeah, there was funding. There were some countries that sent troops as well. I think the ones that were in the immediate vicinity played the role that they had to play. The question isn't that. The question is, how do you take action on making sure that the area is stabilized in the future? You understand? Like geopolitically. I mean, when you have, and I mean, it's open, it's publicly known. Turkey has been sending arms to Libya for months now. And I read an article, actually, it was a Greek helicopter that intercepted them. And they asked permission to board the ship. The ship pretty much told them to go fuck themselves, and they turned around and left. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Start a conflict in the middle of the Mediterranean? But the problem isn't that. The problem is, okay, what is the international community doing? Why are we closing our eyes to this? Right? And to come back to Canada, you came out and you specifically said that we are not doing business with Turkey. We're not doing business with Saudi Arabia. And behind closed doors, you're selling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're shitty people, and more people need to be aware, because the people that I've gotten into arguments with, George, about this stuff, they don't know. They don't know. They're telling me, like, let's say Trudeau's talking points instead of what's actually happening. So I always get frustrated because I tell them, look, those are great in theory, but it's not what he's fucking doing. You're defending something that isn't true. I'm telling you this is what really happened. I'm upset about reality. You're telling me that you're upset because I'm bringing up reality, and you're upset because it goes against what he said. Look at what he did.
Yeah, but that's a pretty generalized fact, right? In like, nobody really follows what's going on. I mean, you follow because you have that interest. Your regular person, I mean, and you can take Poseidon, for example.
He's not regular, sir.
I have been following, by the way, and it has been driving me crazy these past few months.
The hypocrisy, because he's new to this, right? So to him, the hypocrisy kind of driving, because he doesn't know how it's allowed. He used to ask me, like, how are they allowed to write this? But look at what really happened, and I have to explain to him, bro, this is all bought and paid for. First of all, we don't have free media really in Canada, especially with the CBC being bought and paid for. They can't really say what's actually happening, just what he wants to say. And on top of it, they're making these rules up about fake news and journalism online and all that stuff, because they're trying to block dissenting voices. That's what they're trying to do.
But look, the fact is that your average person doesn't really care. You can go out right now, walk down the street, and grab 15 people and ask them, who's the premier of Quebec? You know what I mean? Yeah. Nobody will know. Nobody will know, because they just don't give a shit, right? So everyone just follows politics a couple of months, probably before the elections, because it's blasted in the news, and everyone just takes the headlines, whatever they listen to, and that's it. I mean, for the last, whatever, since 2015 when they got elected, or since the last federal election in 2019, who's been following? Who's been really looking into the work being done at the committees? Yeah. You know what I mean, who? Nobody does that. Nobody does that. And not only that, even when elections come around, who actually picks up a platform to read it? Who? You know what I mean? Nobody.
Well, do you remember when I was reading it last time? We had who's that fucking guy? The French guy who was kind of crazy, heading you party.
The rhino, the rhinoceros. It's not a new party.
No, not the rhinoceros part, not the comedy one. Remember the guy who made sense, but then he came out and he looked really racist? What the fuck was his name?
Are you talking about Quebec or federal?
He went federal, but he's from Quebec. What the fuck? I think he was a conservative, and then he ditched out. I forget his name.
Maxime Bernier.
Bernier. Okay, so he came out.
The People's Party.
Yeah. So he came out. He looked like a lunatic. Then the platform. Remember when I was like, wait a second. This is actually all good stuff, right? But then he said some crazy shit, and people were like, "Oh, holy fuck, that's insane." So,
the issue there is that you clearly didn't have the right face and the right mouth to promote the agenda.
Yeah, because the agenda was actually good. The agenda was all like, "Oh, this is fucking all reasonable stuff." He's the only one. He was the closest to like a libertarian candidate we would have here. I was like, "Oh, this guy's cool." But then I heard him talking. I was like, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah. So this is the reality. So unfortunately, we're stuck in this continuous circle where things don't really change. I mean, look, people are going to go out and vote the exact same way next elections. And if it were up to me, and I think we spoke about that in an earlier episode, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people right now in the PMO concocting the next election. You know what I mean? Because he's really doing well in the polls. He's done fairly well during this pandemic. He has stood out, and in his cabinet, everything now is about strategies, where we're going to place our pieces so that we can, so that we can get ready for an eventual election.
I am so upset with what Trudeau and his boys, girls, and everyone is doing that I am willing to help the Conservatives take the victory, but they're not playing fair. I reached out to that guy. What's his name? Poivre Loncourt. What's his name? The guy who's always yelling. Huh? Polyev, yeah, I like that guy. But I didn't get a reply in my email. Nothing. These guys don't want to win. It seems like they don't want to fucking win.
I'll try and find you someone that maybe can put you in touch with him. He'd be interesting to have on your podcast.
Not just on the podcast. I'd be the best person to make ridiculous commercials talking about hypocrisy.
Did any of you follow the Conservative Party debate this week?
No, but I didn't even know what was happening. But then I saw on my Twitter timeline somebody had wrote like, "Who do you think won?" And I was like, "There was a fucking debate." Yeah. Who won?
I didn't watch it, and I purposely didn't watch it because I just I don't know what to say. I mean, none of these candidates reach out to me. I don't think any one of them is interesting, and I think it was in French. And I have from the stuff that I read, apparently they all had the questions beforehand. So they had drafted out their answer, and every time they were asking a question, you would see them just bend down and start reading out loud, their French response, because nobody speaks French. Nobody speaks French. I mean, what are you going to do? And I have a hard time seeing how these guys are going to mobilize in Quebec.
They need me and Mike. That's what they need. They need us. We'll speak French here.
Well, for sure they need Quebec. So I don't know what the hell is going to happen there. I mean, I have a lot of conservative friends that have already picked their camps.
That's what I'm saying. They're dummies. Go for the Quebec celebrities.
Yeah. Well, there is one running for the Parti Québécois leadership.
Yeah, I know.
He's your friend.
Guy Nantel. Yeah, he's super cool, bro.
Yeah,
I'll vote for him.
Yeah, well.
Even though they're trying to drag him in the mud, they're trying to make him seem like a bad guy. Guy who tried to make people laugh for years is evil because now he's getting into politics. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
This is what frustrates me too, right? The idea that politics is a secluded kind of club for certain people. Actors, comedians don't have the knowledge or know-how to be politicians.
No, we do. We just don't like it. Like, I have the know-how. I know what's going on. I just don't like it. First of all, I'm very much about free speech. That's my main thing. I want people to have in Canada actual free speech. Okay, not getting sued for jokes. That's what I want, and they won't let you have it here. Even there's one thing I forgot to ask you, and I'm glad that you made me think about it right now. You saw what happened with Jagmeet Singh?
Oh my God!
So I have very interesting thoughts about this, because in the beginning I was like, I don't understand. You could get through. Why the fuck is he getting? This is stupid. You can't just, because they're always arguing. But then I saw that within the rules, this is the rules of Parliament. Okay, I didn't make them up. Within the rules, if you say something like that, especially unfounded, like he called him a racist because the guy didn't agree with him, which to me is, okay, now you're fucking overdoing it. You can't just keep calling everyone a racist that doesn't agree with you. And then in the rules, it says that when that happens, you get thrown out, you have to apologize, and they have to automatically accept your apology. and then on good faith, and then you have to move forward. So with
the way it works, there's a decorum, right? In Parliament, this happens both in Ottawa and in Quebec. You have terms that you're allowed to use. You know, I mean, you debate in the House, but there are certain terms that are considered unparliamentary. So you can't use, like, for example, I'm not sure in Ottawa, but here in Quebec, you can't call them a liar. You can't use vulgar language. Yeah. Obviously, calling someone a racist is on that list as well.
Especially the reasoning behind it. You don't agree with me, therefore you're a racist. I think that's a fucking shitty cop-out.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue. But when you, and this happens all the time, right? I mean, they lose control. They say stuff that they shouldn't say. They apologize, they acknowledge it. Yeah. The speaker raises unparliamentary wording. Please take it back. You know, and that's it. And then you sit down, and then we continue. But he didn't want to. Yeah. He was adamant on, you know, identifying the other guy as a racist. Why? Because he didn't want to give his consent to tabling the motion. What the hell is going on? So they kicked him out.
But with the I got to say before you continue with the headlines, because I saw a lot of people react, because in the beginning, I was in the camp of Jagmeet Singh. I was like, what the fuck? He's being treated bad. Like, you know, people are being racist against him. And then I looked at it. I go, why are people following the headlines? Because everyone in the headlines is like, yeah, call them a racist. Quebec is racist. All this, like, other stuff that had nothing to do with when I'm reading it. I'm like, oh, no, he's actually wrong. He's 100% wrong. You don't agree with me. Therefore, what kind of fucking tactic is that in democracy? Do what the fuck I tell you, or I'm going to ruin your name.
I didn't read his motion. And maybe the motion was well done. Maybe
I don't know what it is. That's what I keep asking. I go, give me.
I haven't read it. Basically,
no media outlet so far that I've looked at that talks about this has written, because show me what it is, and then I'll see. Like if I agree with it or not, but they're not fucking showing it, George. They're not fucking showing it, and then they're just saying that if you don't agree with him, you have to be. Get the fuck out of here, man. That's crazy.
No, I saw. I think it was in Global News. I'm not sure they had the actual transcript of the motion, so you can read exactly what he was proposing. I can't remember it by heart now.
You remember anything important in it?
It was basically steps to take in order to prevent future issues of coming up that you know, around racism.
Yeah, I know that, but I don't know what the steps are, because a lot of these bills are always there's a title and then there's weird shit inside.
Yeah, I think there were 3 or 4 points that he made. But look, at the end of the day, the other people have the right to either give you consent or not. These are the rules of the parliament, man. Accept them. The guy didn't give you consent. Why are you calling him a racist? Because he didn't agree with you. I mean, it's ridiculous. And only that, what kind of point are you trying to prove by going against the presidency, like the speaker? The guy's telling you, take back your comments because they're unparliamentary. No, I'm not. Okay, leave.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for him, and it's embarrassing for his party.
Yeah. No. I don't like the NDP is the closest thing to communism we have in Canada, so I don't like the NDP. But the thing is, most people, kind of like what you said before, are dummies, and they go for the best case scenario, and they listen to some talking points. They're like, oh, this is great. This is a great party. These are it's so fucking stupid that people don't do the research. Even with this, like I said, it was all in my timeline, and I was shocked at people reading the headline and being like, he was a victim of racism. Quebecers are all racist. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? That's not at all what's going on here. He disagreed with someone, and then his only comeback, but that shows that his argument probably didn't have any substance. Because if it had substance, he could have argued that. He could have been, wait, what do you mean? You don't want X thing? You don't want X? You know what I mean? To put the guy on the spot. But instead, he right away jumped on that because he's like, oh, the R word. This is going to work. So when I see shit like that, especially in politics, I'm like, okay, so the guy has no argument. That's why he's jumping in on stuff like that. It's crazy.
Look, I don't know. Yeah, Poseidon, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think I found an article that explains what his motion was.
Tell me.
Yeah.
I think it was he said that he was saying that the RCMP is basically the
that's not the motion, Poseidon. Yeah.
The RCMP.
What are the concrete steps he wanted to take? What was he proposing? What was the guy? I don't know what the guy was against.
Proposing a review of the RCMP's budget, to release all its use of force reports, and to call for a review of their tactics for dealing with the public, basically. And then who was it? Terrien was the only MP in the House who refused to support the motion, and then that's when he called him a racist. So he's not detailing. You're right. There's no details of how exactly he wanted to do that. Just what he wanted. Basically calling the RCN to reform the budget, and to release all its use of force reports and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so then he could probably call the other officers raised. I don't know what the fuck he was planning. Either way, I'm all for reforming all of our structures, especially in politics and in policing. I'm all for that. But, there are ways to go about it.
Yeah.
And if someone disagrees with you, especially in parliament, you could literally, you're there with them. You could literally, even after the fact, like, look, let me talk to you. This is what I'm trying to do. This is, you know what I mean? Like, you could, the whole discussion aspect left at some point. You're like, fuck you, you're wearing a different color than me. You're the enemy. The whole reason why you fucking dummies were all elected into the fucking parliament is so you can discuss things. This whole, nope, he's on the other team. Nope. Oh, he said we should all drink water. No, I'm not drinking water because he suggested it. This is psychotic to me. These are not adults. These are fucking dummies. These are dummies, and they should not be there. And also, Trudeau, the fact that he had the balls to suspend Parliament right now, to remove our... Why? Why? That's the only democratic right that we actually have here. And you remove that thing. What the fuck is that about? And no one's saying anything. No one's protesting that. You no longer live in a democracy. That's cool.
He's calling the House for anything that they want to pass. Basically, for anything else, it's just closed doors. But just in their defense, to go back to what you were saying, Pantelis, about them having actually, I was going to say peaceful or human dialogue. Yeah. That actually does happen. Like behind the scenes, and I'm talking obviously mostly in Quebec. Most of the bills that are passed, they pass in, I would say probably 95, 96% of the time. There's like this interesting collaboration between the parliamentarians. Forget about what happens during question period. Question period, it's the theatrics, okay? And it's there for that reason, I think. I mean, you're yelling at each other across the floor because that's the clip that's going to make the news. But during committee, there's interesting discussions. I mean, there's back and forth. There's amendments that are being proposed. The government usually takes them into consideration. There's a long process that goes on before the bill actually comes back to the House to be voted on. And there's this interesting collaboration that happens. So I honestly don't understand what the problem is with Jagmeet Singh. I mean, usually the leaders of each party in the House, they have a discussion before anything is tabled. Either they agree or they disagree, or sometimes they try to make certain changes so that they can all kind of consent. Like that kind of happens. Now, was it a last minute thing? I don't know, or maybe it was discussed for days on days, and the Bloc Québécois just said, listen, we will not agree with this. I mean, maybe they were just adamant on that. But yeah, in general, there's a pretty good collaboration. Actually, I want to come back to what happened in Quebec. Right before the end of the Parliament session, the CAQ wanted to pass Bill 61, which actually made, which was present pretty much in the news. It was, they called it, the bill to launch back our economic development. So
no, I didn't like that. That it was taking away too many rights. Right.
Exactly. It was basically giving the government excessive powers all the way until 2022. They removed in the bidding process, like they can approve the bidding for different infrastructure projects without having the approval of the National Assembly. Like we're talking about things that you're like, whoa, man, you're stepping outside of the norm over here. Like, who are you? I mean, you're accountable to the people that elect you. You can't just be making decisions like that. And the interesting thing, and I don't know if this has happened before. I mean, it's the first time that I see this happening. It didn't pass because it wasn't voted in the House. It didn't pass because the oppositions didn't consent. They didn't give their consent for the government to even table the bill, which I've never seen. Usually, when any party wants to table a bill, there's always consent because they know that they're going to go over this bill article by article during committee work, and they're going to talk and they're going to negotiate. They know that there's room for people to change certain articles. You know what I mean? So that when the bill actually reaches the voting period, everyone is pretty much on board, right? That didn't even make it to that step. I mean, they didn't even consent for the bill to be even tabled, which was huge. It was a huge victory for the oppositions here in Quebec. But yeah, I mean, we're in a very strange period right now. I mean, everyone is trying to make political capital with this pandemic that happened, and people are starting to wake up, man. It's like, dude, what is going on? I mean, okay, we understand that there's a pandemic. We understand there's a government in place that you need to take care of your people, but there's a limit. I mean, we're not going to open the door to dictatorship over here. I mean, there's still a democracy in place, and there's still procedures that need to be followed. You can't have every power. I mean, where the hell do we live?
See, when I was saying this years ago, George, all right, You were telling me to calm my fucking tits, is what you were telling me. All right? Not in those words. You're way more elegant than that. You were telling me, calm down, stupid. Calm down, dummy. They can't do that. They're not going to do that. You're crazy. You're paranoid. Well, you know what, George? Welcome to the paranoid team, George.
Well, no, it didn't
the more power you give these people, the first of all, they're never going to give it back. If we give them an inch, they're not giving back an inch. They're going to take a mile. They're not going to give anything back. You can't give up your rights.
Well, I have been having a meltdown seeing all this shit for the past couple of months with everything that's going on, like a mental breakdown, I guess. And I came out of it just yesterday, I feel like.
What do you mean?
Like, because I've been seeing all this. I have watched videos, older videos also of conspiracy, all this shit that's going on, with the UN, this, that. I have absorbed so much because I've had a lot of time these past 3 months.
I bet you have.
I have absorbed so much information about everything that's going on that I was slowly, it felt like I was kind of losing it. And I kind of snapped out of it yesterday. I think the haircut helped. So.
I got to get another haircut.
So yeah, so I know what you're talking about when you say it's crazy.
Yeah, it's I don't know, George, honestly the only way to win, the only way forward is for people to become more aware and educated and elect governments that will but the thing is, it's so difficult because all everyone does now is listen to whatever the media tells them, reads the headline. So the media could say anything. The media could just come out and be like tomorrow, being around your family is terrible. It's bad for your health. People are like, yo, I fucking knew it. I'm going to go in the closet. Like, they're just, they believe whatever the fuck it tells them. They don't think. There's no...
But even about raising awareness, I mean, everything has become so polarized right now, right? I mean, you have, and I don't want to talk about this too much, but you have, the Black Lives Matter movement, and everyone is coming out and saying, well, it's an election year, and the only way we can change it is by taking action, go out and vote, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I understand that it's important to politicize certain issues, right? But at some point, I mean, facts do matter, right? I mean, you can't just come out and do whatever you want and take advantage of any situation to either bring in a government or overthrow a government,
They already overthrew Aunt Jemima, George. The war is over.
Yeah. So, but see, this is where we're headed now. Everything, like, where are we going to draw the line? I mean, and I can understand. I mean, I have a lot of Black friends, and I've heard stories, their family stories, and I get it, man. It's frustrating to always be at the receiving end of hatred, racism, racial profiling. These things do exist.
But they're two different problems, right? Because that I agree with 100%. But what I find funny is what you mentioned before about the whole voting, right? Here's what I find. Like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, this isn't real life. This seems like a fucking movie, because they're talking about voting, right? And like, we have to get out and we're going to change. But the thing is, everyone who's complaining now, all these states and the governors that were running them were all Democratic governments, right? They're all Democrat who are running these shit shows, okay? Who are incarcerating these people disproportionately. So all this stuff's happening. They're like, we're going to go out and vote and change this. Who are you going to vote for? The same fucking people that are in power right now? We're going to vote for them again. Yo, dummy. So hold on a second. The people that are in power right now are fucking you over, and you're yelling at the people that are not in power in your state, and you're saying, we're not going to fucking vote for you. We're going to vote for these guys. It doesn't, I'm like, how the fuck is no one thinking? Is no one using their fucking brain? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You're saying that you're going to go out, you're going to use your power to vote for the same people that are in control right now. It's mind-boggling, George. The stupidity is mind-boggling.
What's mind-boggling to me, Pantelis, is the hypocrisy that has come out of this whole situation, and I think it's a good thing. And we talked about this on a previous episode where was it here? I can't remember. But last year in October, here in Montreal, the police conducted a private investigation, an independent investigation. It was an independent committee within the police.
Yeah.
Okay. They took all the cases, all the arrests, and they came out with a report that said clearly, black on white, that Black people, Native people, 4% more risk of being stopped. They're 4 times more susceptible of being stopped.
Okay.
Arabs as well. I think 2 or 3 times more.
What about sexy ass Greeksters? What about that?
Yeah, they left us aside. But the thing is that this report comes out, and at that time, nobody's calling it as it is. The mayor of Montreal kind of neglects the whole thing.
Just ride a bike. It will be okay.
You know what I mean? No, there is no systemic racism. They don't want to call it what it is.
Yeah.
And now, but now because of all this momentum, right? Everyone is kind of jumping on on the bandwagon, suddenly the mayor of Montreal comes out and says, yes, we do have a problem. Where were you?
You were told about this problem.
Yeah. Like you were given a fucking report. Like, where were you? Why were things different back then?
Yeah, they're all phonies.
Like, we're not talking about 5 years ago. We're talking about what is it? October. What is it? 5-6 months ago?
A lifetime ago, George.
No, but what happened? You know what I mean? Oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna study it. What do you mean study it?
You had it for months. It's all bullshit. It's all lip service bullshit.
So
first of all, this lady's a dummy.
These are the things that frustrate me. I mean, you know, if we woke up one day and realized, oh shit, what's going on? Then I would understand. But when you know these things, I mean, look, I worked in politics. I have my own stories. You know, I mean, I've seen my own share of things. I cannot come out and say, oh, wow, I'm shocked. Surprised that these things are happening. Come on, man. Come on.
What? We're beating up black people disproportionately. That is shocking. Ma'am, your daily update on black people that got beat up is here. Oh, shut the fuck up, Steve. Get the fuck out of here. You're making me look bad.
But it's not only the black community. I mean,
no, I know it's
the most impacted. But I've seen organizations get refused funding because, you know, it's the Bangladesh Solidarity of Canada, or because, you know, your name is, unpronounceable.
Yeah, how do you accept that? That I'm cool with. If I can't pronounce your name, sir, I'm not giving you any goddamn money. Suspicious.
Yeah. Oh, put an X on that one.
Oh, like they come for what? For loans or for approval for groups?
Government subsidies, government grants. You know, they have nonprofit organizations, and you know, I mean, there's funding for that, and they get refused. I mean, they're not given any attention.
Imagine they just don't know. It's like solidarity for the people of Chad. This fucking dummy thinks I'm gonna fall for it. No, Chad. Ma'am, that is a country. Right? Yeah. Okay. Sure it is.
Sure. No, but
they just surf all the time. Okay.
No, but I've seen and I can't compare. I mean, we've had it good. You know what I mean? We can't complain, but we all have friends that have been on the receiving end of this hatred, right? And it's sad what's happening. What's sadder though is that it took so long for our leaders to actually acknowledge it, right? And the only reason they're acknowledging it is because there's a wave.
Yeah. That's what I hate, and that's what you hate, is the hypocrisy. You knew about it from before, but you're like, fuck it, who gives a shit? And then now people are like, no, this is the thing to talk about. You're like, yeah, it's fucking crazy, right? The shit that I've been knowing about for years and have done nothing. It's fucking crazy. It's your guys' fault. It's really your guys' fault. Citizens, it's your guys' fault.
You know, on my podcast yesterday, I had Nelson. Nelson is a guy that I've known for a long time. He's obviously a black guy. He's one of the
Like I said, he's obviously a black guy. Only black guys are named Nelson.
No. I brought him on purposely to discuss this issue. And he's one of the most active leaders that I worked with in Park Extension. And he says a story on the podcast where he himself, and this is, think about this. This is someone that knows the politicians, that knows all the actors, that knows the police force, the chief of the director of the police in Park Extension, the police officers. Like he knows them, he works with them on a daily basis, right?
And they still almost shot him.
No, but he says a story where he was sitting, in front of his mom's porch in Parc-Ex, and a cop passed by 4 times, stopped, checked out, and he had to go himself to tell the cop, "Listen, what's going on, man? Do you need, what's happening here?"
And the cop panicked. He's coming right for us.
Can I tell you one thing though?
Yeah.
When I used to live at my mom's place, they used to do the same thing all the time and give me dirty looks.
Yeah, they've done it, dude. George, you understand how shitty they are, right? They've done it to me. You know how many times I got yelled at for walking?
Look, you're a police officer. You're covering, a dangerous territory. You are doing your job. I get it. But 4 times around the block, dude, it's people sitting on a porch having a beer. They're allowed to do that, right? So,
but you said he was black, George, so it changes everything.
So it's funny, the story that he mentions, and this is years ago now, right? So he goes up to the cop, he explains to him what's happening, the cop disappears. A couple days later, he has a meeting with elected officials. They're sitting in a board with elected officials, the director of the police in Park Extension, and they're talking about racial profiling because it was huge at some point, I think in 2012 or 2011, 2012, we were talking about racial profiling a lot. And the chief of police here in Park Extension says, no, there is no issue. There is no issue. There is no racial profiling.
What?
And the guy's sitting there and he's like, 48 hours ago, I was him up. You know what I mean? And it's a crazy story. And finally, the chief of police actually called him and said, "Listen, man, maybe I'm wrong. Let's sit down. Let's talk about this." So when people come on and tell me, "Oh, this is news to me," you're lying. you're lying because you know that you've been having these discussions for years now. Okay, this is not, we didn't just wake up today and realize that there's racial profiling when you know that 10 years ago, all you heard in the news in Montreal was racial profiling in Montreal North and in Anjou. Like we've seen this scenario before.
Dude, I've been called a fucking estit grec so many times from cops. You think black people have it? Are you crazy? If we get it, you think black people aren't getting it?
For sure. Sure. You know what I mean? But you know what? We like, this is my experience. I mean, I've had the complete opposite reaction where I remember once we were sitting at next door, well, that cafe there next door, it was called Next Door.
Now it's Cafe Neo.
So we were on the terrace, and this is late now. This is like past midnight. We had our guitars. We were jamming. Okay, a cop passes by with a big flashlight.
It's about time some white people started playing music here.
The big spotlight, and then the window. Like the guy, they didn't even come out of the car. They drop the window. Please just keep it down. And they drive off. And we're like, okay. You know what I mean? Like innocent little kids. We're like, whew, we thought we were going to get in trouble and we didn't. What would happen if there were black people like rapping or playing, I don't know, whatever music?
They would have beat the fucking music right out of you, bro.
They would have beaten them with their guitars. You know what I mean?
Why don't you dance to this?
Fucking terrorists.
You understand? So, and these are things that you know, at that time you don't really think about. But now I reflect back on all these times where maybe, that time where we were hanging out on the corner of, I don't know, Delepi and Ball with 5 friends just doing nothing, and a cop passed by and didn't do anything. Perhaps if I were black, I'd be on the floor handcuffed. You understand? Just because I'm hanging out.
But you know what's difficult to gauge? Because I'll give you an example. So growing up, I know that a lot of people, because most of the cops, they were French Canadian, right? So they would dictate and judge like, oh, French Canadians don't like us. French Canadians are racist, this and that. But the cops are normally the lowest common denominator that go into that, mostly. There's a lot of good guys too, smart, educated, but a lot of them are these bullies. Because then you meet everyday French Canadians, and it's the opposite. They're very warm. Do you know what I mean? It's the complete different. Like, oh, where are you from? What do you do? But then the cops are also doing a disservice to their people, because people whose first interaction, like let's say new immigrants, are with them. They're like, oh, what the fuck? These people, they're hateful. But then you meet actual Quebecers. It's the complete opposite of what the police are saying. Complete opposite. They're not the same. That's why it's the bully. That's why I say it's a gang mentality. It's a lot of bullies that get involved in it, and then they ruin everyone's good name.
But just to say, look, just for the record, because I've worked with a lot of police officers. I've
met a lot of good police officers, dude, but I've also met a shit ton of bad ones.
You know what I mean? But it's just like in anything, right?
It's like in anything, dude. There's comedians that are fucking cool-ass dudes. There's comedians that are fucking rapists. Like, it's just, what do you want me to do?
Every industry, you have the garbage. The only problem is that when you're talking about the police force, these guys are carrying a weapon.
Yeah, a garbage person could kill you. That's what I say. So it's more, it's amplified. It's amplified more times because the damage they can do is worse than anything else.
Like you saw the shooting in Atlanta. I don't know if you've spoken about it, where that black guy, they shot him in the back. I saw the clip. Listen, the guy resisted arrest.
And then he pointed the taser at him.
He stole the taser gun and he shot at the police officers. Maybe the police officer was right to shoot him. I don't know. And I don't want to open a can of worms over here. But at the same time, you're questioning the guy. He's drunk. He's obviously distraught. He's going through some issues in his life. Do you really need to fucking arrest this guy? Put him in his car. Let him sleep. Just go home. Why are you going after the trouble? Like, what is it going to bring you to arrest this guy? You know
so look,
I mean?
I'm with you on that part right there. I agree. But since it escalated, the second the guy resisted, stole a taser, pointed at him, then you fuck up because they have guns. You just fucked up type of thing. Now, as a cop, I don't understand why they don't aim for.
But why is your reflex? Let me take out my gun and shoot you.
Well, because the guy's pointing a taser at me.
Why don't you just chase the guy like you've been trained to do? Tackle him and do your job and apprehend him.
What do you mean trained? Well, isn't the whole thing that they're not getting enough training? They're panicking. I was watching Jocko Willink talk about this. He goes, they don't get nowhere near the training they should because they don't actually consistently get trained. They should be getting every week training like this. So when this happens, they're calm. Now they always panic because it's not something they're used to. They're used to people respecting what they say. So second someone does something different, they're like, and the guy's pointing something at him and the guy fucking panics. But the thing that always, but because you're right, they should get trained more so that doesn't happen. But I don't know. I feel like the second the guy pointed the taser at him, it's like, oh, fuck, man, now it's going to escalate. But you know what I always wonder, George, and I never see it. Like, let's say the taser. You know the guy pointed a taser at you. He tried to shoot you with it. He missed or whatever. How come cops don't shoot? How come they always shoot even if you're not holding a gun or anything? How come they always shoot to kill? How come there's never like, all right, this guy, if I have to shoot him, let me shoot him in the leg? How come that never happens?
Because you take a human body and you take the size of the leg versus the size of the torso.
In order to aim, you might miss.
Where do you have better chances of actually getting, right?
Yeah, but then you also just killed a guy for acting drunk and stealing a taser.
Yeah. See, that's where the presence of mind is important, right? I mean, you are the authority figure here. You are the police officer. Use your judgment. What do you need to do right now? Is your life in danger? You just, you ask the guy. He's told you he's not carrying any weapons. You know that he's not dangerous. The guy's drunk. You can probably, you know what I mean? Control the situation. I mean, you didn't need. I don't think it needed to resort to violence. Of course, at that period, at that time in place, the guy takes your taser gun. Okay, it's a taser gun. You're gonna get electrocuted. But there's a second police officer. Run and tackle him. I don't know.
I think it was the second police officer that shot him. It wasn't even the first guy. It wasn't the guy who got robbed. It was the second guy that shot him.
That's not what I read. The first guy didn't have the necessary training for DUI or something like that.
What does that mean? Training for DUI? Use your. I don't know. Dude.
No, because the test there, the alcohol test. So I don't think I'm not sure.
Can I say something that I've noticed watching these videos?
There are a lot of sexy
I think
people.
I've noticed. No. I think I've noticed is I think the reason why they panic like that also is because these cops, a lot of them that get into these situations don't actually command any authority. They have the badge and they think they're tough, but when they're actually presented with a situation, they get scared and people feed off of that.
Okay, look.
I think
In Poseidon's defense, I have to say a story, George. In Poseidon's defense, so 2 days ago, I was taking a walk here down Lacadie. And on Lacadie and Sauvé, something happened. I don't know if it was like a road rage, a stabbing, something happened. They had to block up the area and in front of the gas station. And there was 2 cars. There was a lady crying. And there was a lot of cops, okay? And one of the cops decided to take his vest and decide to direct traffic, okay? But he was doing a terrible job at it, okay? So I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm waiting. I'm like, I can't go because this guy's crazy. He's going to get me killed. So I waited. And then I waited till the light turns green for me to walk. And I started going. And then this guy decides, oh, fuck it. I'm going to start sending traffic his way. So he starts telling cops. And I go, hey, what are you doing? And he goes, listen to me. Look around. I go, I am looking around. Look at the fucking light. I go, dummy. So I'm yelling at him, right? And then he goes, you should listen to me. I go, what the fuck are you talking about? Let's fuck up. So I crossed the street, and I yelled at him. He commanded zero respect with me. Then he starts saying it's okay for people to start walking. My girlfriend stayed behind me because she got scared. So now it's her turn to walk. She starts walking. What does the dummy do? Turn around, doesn't look. The light changes, lets cars come again into people. Almost hits her. So I'm like, hey, what the fuck? Didn't you just say to look around? Didn't you fucking just say to look around? Like to other people? Like, you're not doing your fucking job. He said nothing. He just stood there like, ugh. So they do not command respect because people like me do yell at them. That is true. So in Poseidon's defense, they do get yelled at a lot by people like me.
Yeah. But you also have the other extreme where they think that they're God, right? I mean, they come in and they start.
There's that also, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but just to answer your question, because one of my friends was dating a girl that was actually going through the whole training. If they pull out their gun, they're trained to shoot to kill.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It's shoot to kill, which is why it's rare for them to actually take out their gun because they are trained to apprehend and to control the situation without having to resort to that. But
George, do we remember that famous photo of last year downtown Montreal where there's 5 cops beating up a black homeless guy on the floor, and while they're beating up, the female cop pulled out a gun? Do you remember that? He's already down, no weapons, his hands are up, getting beat up, and she's like, fuck this. Do you remember that, George? So clearly it's either training or testing, whatever the fuck we're doing, we're not doing it properly. I have noticed something, George. I want to ask you a question. I noticed, I don't know if it's just me noticing or if more graduates or whatever, the past couple of weeks I've noticed a shitload of solo female cops. Is that a new movement we're doing here in Montreal or more inclusive? But I have noticed. I have no issues with it. It's just an observation.
Sure. Keep in mind that, even though they're police officers, a lot of them don't usually, well, not usually, but they're not all involved in, the normal whatever police activity that you think a cop does. Because I worked with a lot of police officers that were involved in what they call the social community department. So what these cops do, they work a lot closer with the society, the community groups, the different organizations. They raise awareness. They work with schools. So they're police officers. I mean, they go through the training, but they have these departments within the different police departments in the districts, and their mission is to just create the outreach with the different actors in the districts or in the boroughs.
That doesn't answer my question. Is it? I have noticed
because they're usually on their own. I mean, they're either going.
Oh, okay, that's why. Yeah, that's why. Because I've noticed solo, or because it used to be. I remember back in the day, they wouldn't leave a woman cop alone. It would be like a guy cop and a woman cop. And I never understood the reason for that. I heard rumors it's because they don't want them to like not work and go shopping. But I don't have concrete. I feel like that's just a sexist remark, which is something that I would never fucking say. I'm just repeating what I heard.
Yeah.
How funny would that be?
But it could be that, or they could be supervisors. I think supervisors they usually are right around solo.
But I have noticed, and for some reason, if they're not bitches, if they're nice, I feel there's something better about that. I feel there's something better. It's more calming when it's a woman that comes and says like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" or something, than when a guy's like, "What the fuck, bro?" You know. So there's something to it.
I've seen both. I've seen good guy cops and bad guy cops, and I've seen good women cops and horrible women cops. Oh my god! I remember once I was going to the office and I'm on Jean Talon, and our office was on St. Lawrence, and you can't turn north, you can't turn left on St. Lawrence from Jean Talon. You can't. Okay. But I was in a rush, and I'm like, oh fuck, screw this shit. So I went through. There's a gas station there, the Petro-Canada.
I know.
You know what? I'll just go through the garage and come out and there was a police officer there. She stopped me. And this is like in the very beginning when I had started in politics, and one of our senior advisors like, listen, man, you get stopped for whatever reason, you just flash your National Assembly ID card. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man?
I don't think that'll work.
Don't worry about it, man. Just flash that ID card, tell them you work for the government, and it's like a free pass. I'm like, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. That one day was the first and only day that I attempted to do that. So she pulls me over. And I'm like, I work for the member of parliament. Our office is right there. I'm a little bit in a rush. I know what I did was illegal. I'm sorry about that. And she's like, give me your registration and everything. And so I pull out my license.
You flashed the card?
I take out my license, the registration, insurance, and I grab the card and I give the whole thing to her, right? So she takes a step. She looks at it. She comes back and she just tosses it right in the window. She's like, "J'ai pas besoin de ça." Like, I don't need this.
Oh, fuck, that's hilarious.
And I'm just looking for it. I'm like, yep, there's a ticket coming my way. That's
That's funny.
Yeah.
But you see, that's why I get into more trouble than you. Because you just stayed quiet. I would have been like, oh, they let you work on your period. Interesting. And then that's how it escalates. You could keep your mouth shut. I can't.
But yeah, well, I have no choice. You don't want to get. I mean, you do the job that I do. The last thing you want is to just draw that kind of attention. But I'll be honest with you, that card actually served me a couple of times, especially at the airport, where I wanted to avoid paying for the parking whenever I would go pick someone up. So I would go on top, the top ramp where it's for the departures.
Yeah.
So anyone that was coming, I was like, listen, forget about the arrival signs. Just go up to the second floor.
I still do that.
And because you can park there, you're right. I mean, but at some point, people are coming and tell you, listen, leave. You have no idea how many times I pulled out that card and I was like, Governor of Quebec, I'm waiting for an official. Okay, sir.
I love it. Okay. Oh, dude, Poseidon, were you with me when I got into a fight when I was yelling at you? Were you with me? Was it you?
I'm the one that brought you to the airport.
Oh, dude, this lady with the vest, this lady cop, the harassment she got that day because she was trying to harass. You were the one. She was trying to harass me and him because he had stopped there, and I was just getting out.
Trying to intimidate us, but also I think we scared her because we didn't even react. We're like,
she's yelling in his ear, and I'm still talking to him. I'm like, yeah. And it's like, you gotta move this car, and I'm still talking. I'm like, okay, so you're gonna pick me up from here, no, this and that, and then I get a car. Show your. I go, can you shut the fuck up? Can you shut the fuck up? Just yelling at her, saying the bitch like, holy shit. Officer. Yeah, this was one of those airport. She was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
can you shut the fuck up? What am I doing? I'm getting out of the fucking car. What do you want me to walk out of a moving vehicle? Can you shut the fuck up? And Poseidon's like, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
I was laughing.
She was probably the airport security there. Yeah.
Not much longer. She's because zero authority. Because literally, this way he stopped, and I go to open the door. I couldn't even open the door. She starts already yelling from his window. You gotta move the car. It's the departures. Like that's where.
But
like,
also, there's a way to fucking speak to people.
Yeah,
man.
there's a way to speak. So the second she decided
like
to be a bitch, I was like, all right, you want to see a bitch? You're not gonna find a bigger one than me.
Like,
so I was just ignoring. Like, I was talking over her, like she's trying to yell and she's still here. So I'm talking to Poseidon like a normal conversation. I was like, get out of here. Get out of
here. Sorry, you're in my way.
Yeah, it was fucking funny.
But like, what pisses me off, what she could have done is come knock on the window, all calmly, like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just he has a flight to catch.
Yeah.
I'm dropping him." That's it.
That's it. That's all it takes.
I'm leaving any. That's all it fucking takes, man.
Yeah.
That's all it fucking takes. I don't understand the aggressiveness of like, I'm in control here.
Yeah,
There's people
that take their job a little bit too seriously, I find. You know what I mean? It's just chill. You know what I mean? Just chill. And it's not only that. It's honestly, I've seen it in pretty much every sector, every industry. You have the people with the big titles that act all fresh. Like you see it everywhere. It's just chill. Just relax. You know what I mean? You see it everywhere.
I've always been, even before comedy, I've always been that, like, I was like, I don't get, like, just stay chill. Let's just get the job done. I've always been like that. Like I don't understand the whole title dictating behavior thing. That always bothered me. That people assume that you have to change your, like, the only thing I understand is changing your behavior is if you're like an elected official, you should change your behavior for the better. Like you should be more of an example. That I agree with. Okay. But to lord over people, that always bugged me. It's like, Steve, aren't you gonna be like off work this weekend? Are you gonna act the same fucking way, you dummy? Like, what are you talking about? There's no, you're not a knight. You haven't been knighted. And even then, if you're knighted, fuck that shit. You're knighted by an old lady.
But me, I'm the same way, like chill and calm, and I don't really care. But then until I get mad, if I get mad, I start to act very strange.
But very belligerent when you get mad.
Yeah.
You got to keep your cool because you never know who you're gonna fall on, right? I mean, you know. That whole scene with the airport, you know, what if she was crazier than you thought? You know what I mean? You just radios in, 10 guys show up.
Honestly, I would have found it
because you wanted to talk back.
Honestly, I would have found it a funny story. Like if that escalated, like she was that much of a bitch, but she was more, after a while, you could see that she was getting more shocked. She's like, what the fuck? Because I guess her power was, I wear an orange vest. That's not a power over me. So, because you could tell she started to shrink in her own body. She's like, oh, fuck. Because there was zero fear. I was like, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here, bro.
Yeah. But still, look, see, this is something that you got to be careful because you.
I should. No, you're right. You're correct in this. I'm aware.
Look, obviously, I've never been a confrontational person or, you know, I usually, you know, stay calm. But, you know, in these situations, this is where you got to kind of just shut your mouth and just say, okay, yeah, please just keep it respect because you have no idea who the other person is. You don't know what they're capable of doing or what their crazy mind is going to come
I know you're right because I've gotten, there's tickets that I could have avoided getting if I had just shut the fuck up. So I agree with you 100%. I know it's just sometimes they'll say, like, I'll be cool and they'll say the wrong thing. And then I'll be like, you know what? The ticket's gonna be worth it. Listen here, stupid. You know? like sometimes, sometimes I literally in my head I go, all right, okay, I got some money coming in.
It's like a quick math.
Yeah. It's like I could probably afford this. But then you know what's funny is as soon as it happens, I'm like, fuck, I could have just fucking avoided. Like I need this fucking couple $100. Like
you regret it almost instantly.
Yeah, because you could tell when they're not gonna give you a ticket when they're, you know. So, but they'll say something, and I'll be like, "You motherfucker! I'm not gonna let you get away with that one." But I should learn to calm down. You're 100% right. Yeah.
But I remember once being stopped by the cops. I had this Land Rover. It was a huge car. We were up north, and there was snow. I didn't clean off the snow off the top of the car. First of all, I don't reach it. I didn't reach it.
It's big.
So the cop pulls me over, and I'm like, "What am I doing? I'm not speeding." I couldn't understand. The guy comes to me. He's like, "You have snow on top."
He's right though. That is dangerous. I'm very upset that you did that.
Yeah. And I go, I know, man, but I can't reach it. He's like, well, you can't leave until you clean it. And he sat behind me, arms crossed, and I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? I literally had to climb on the car, like I was on the wheel, holding up.
Do you have the removal thing? You have the stick thing?
I had that little brush thing, you know. I didn't have the extendable one.
Mine extends, bro.
Of course you have to. Yeah. Now I know, but. Back in the day, I literally had to climb on top of the car to fucking, you know, sweep the snow off. And the guy was just sitting there watching me.
He's a good officer.
As soon as I was like, okay, thank you, have a nice day. It's like, fuck off, man.
You know what?
Like,
I'm with him. I like him. He didn't give you a ticket.
I respect him.
Yeah, he didn't give me a ticket, nothing. He just sat there. He just watched me. Come on, like, get a broom. Can you help me out here, dude?
That's not my problem, sir. This is your car.
But you know what? I got off easy, yeah.
I respect him.
Yeah, but these are, but I won't argue that, George. Like if I'm wrong, I'll be like, I fucking know, you know what I mean? It's when they're bullying me for no reason. That's when I snap.
Exactly.
I can't stand the injustice. It's like, this isn't a real thing. What the fuck? So then I just start snapping. But if because it's been time, you know, I've been stopping. I'm like, hey, you're 100% right. I did that. I turned right here. I shouldn't have turned right. You're 100%. Is it a ticket? Is it what? And a lot of times when I acknowledge it right off the bat, I go, yeah, I know. I saw what I just did. I'm well aware. A lot of times I don't get a ticket. Yeah. They're like, what the fuck? yeah, you do this. I go, no, I don't do it often. It's just, yeah, that's what I did. It happened. What, am I getting a ticket? Like, what's happening? You're 100% correct.
And
a lot of times they won't give me a ticket. They'll be like, don't fucking do it again.
Yeah, but see, exactly. That's the right approach, because also what that does, it helps, kind of drop that barrier that automatically police officers put, right? I mean, it's like they don't know who they're going to come. The window drops. They don't know who they're going to see. So automatically, like you said, Poseidon, they have to assume this authoritative, position and expression. But when, they see that, okay, you're chill, you understand you made a mistake, automatically, it's like you notice a completely different person talking to you.
George, on curbs a few years ago, there was a cop directly behind me. It was me and the cop. The car behind me was a cop. I could see him for a while. We're driving. He's right behind me. And I went through full red on ball. Full red. It turned red. 5 seconds later, I crossed. He's right behind me. So you could see the moment of hesitation because the siren went on, off, and then on again. It's like, what just happened? Like, the guy, I'm right fucking behind him. So he follows me. He has the siren on. I'm like, is that for me? I wonder. And I get to St. Roch. That's where I pull over. And he goes like, do you know you went through a red light? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, we're right behind you. I go, I'm aware. He's like, well, why'd you go through a red light? I go, well, in case you guys didn't notice, there was that Indian guy with the turban that was running in the fucking middle of the street. I saw him, and I go, what do I do? Like, he's coming weird. I go, if I stop, he comes to my car. It's a weird situation. I'd rather just go through. It's safer since no one's coming. Guy's like, you look, I have to go to the fucking station, and he just left. Yeah, he went to the car and they went ahead of me and they went to the station. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Because there was a guy that was coming in the street. I saw him. He was coming while it was still green. You know, when you see it going there, while it's still green, he was coming. So I was thinking about it and I didn't want to stop. He was like, talking and yelling at people. I'm like, I don't want this guy to come to my car. So I said, fuck it. Safest thing is just goes right through. Yeah. I think it'll take it.
Emerging that they had to run to. There's this one guy in Parc-Ex. I think he's in charge of traffic, I think, or traffic security, traffic safety, or whatever. There's one guy, and I'm sure you guys have seen him. He's pretty much the guy that gives all the tickets.
Yeah, there's the guy who wears the guy who still wears the blue blue aqua pants. By the way, that guy, I fucked it. He's the guy that Poseidon I won against him in court, and he got mad. Remember? Yeah. Bro, that guy, that day in court, when the judge said that my witness, which is Poseidon, he says, I don't find him credible, but the police officer is even less credible, was the greatest. The guy's face, he thought he was going to cry.
No, but I was dressed like a wop, bro. Yeah. My chains out, my jewelry on, bro.
It was the best. He and then at the end, I tried to play it like a game. I saw Poseidon like, good game, bro. Nice try. And he didn't want to shake my hand or nothing. He just fucking stormed out.
I don't know if we're talking about the same guy.
I chased him for months. Because I had the chance to, because I asked him to go to court and he didn't show up when it was in July. And then said, what do you want to do? And I told the judge, I demand justice. He lied. I want him in court. I want him against me. I demand justice. She's like, are you fucking serious? She's like, all right. So they made another date where they forced him to come in. She's like, are you joking right now? Because this could end right now. I go, I demand justice.
But that guy goes way above and beyond, man. I mean,
he lied. He literally stopped me at a street and said that I went through a red light that I never went through. He completely just bullshit.
But look, I don't know if we're talking about the same guy, but there's this one guy, and I know exactly his spots. Like, I know exactly where he is.
Mine was on Jerry and Lackady.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, he recently upgraded, I think, now because he realized people caught on. You know where he goes now? You know where he parks? Liège, at the corner. Liège and Acadie, as you're going north.
Oh, yeah.
As you're going north. He started doing that recently. I'm like, he almost got me at some point. I was like, motherfucker,
yeah,
you changed.
He has a bunch of spots. He also has, as you're going north on curbs, and Liège, where you have Howard Park.
Yes.
Then to your right, it's like this weird little thing over there. It's like a little
a non-lane. It's like it's like a cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
but that's always been his spot because I lived around there.
He's there. He's always there, and those are the stops. Those are the stop sign, or they don't stop, full stop. So this guy once, I'm driving up Lackady, and rush hour, like you can't park, right? I mean, it's 3 lanes, and there's this bus stopped, and I'm like, that's very strange. Like, first of all, what is a school bus doing parked on Lackady? These guys, these drivers, they don't just leave their bus there. I mean, they know the hours. I mean, and what is the school bus doing there? So anyways, I found that strange, and as I'm coming close, this guy's cop car is parked right in front of it. So you can't see it. Like, going up on Lackady is the back of a school bus, but right in front of the school bus, you have that guy with a gun. You know what I mean?
The best is how he stands behind, because recently I saw him on Lackady. The best is how he stands behind like he's shooting you. I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Why is he?
Yeah. Or I've seen him another time with those the pickup trucks of the city of Montreal, the one that lift up the big arrows there.
Oh, this guy's camouflaging. This guy's like Reno 911.
And that truck, because it's the city of Montreal, they don't want to obstruct traffic or whatever. This guy's on the grass, like on the sidewalk. The flashing lights are up, and that guy's cop car is right in front of that truck on the grass as well. These things, right? Like anyone that lives in Parc-Ex that has seen this numerous times, they know that it's Vic. You know what I mean? He's there.
I hope it's the same guy that I took to court that I still see now with the radar gun.
Head, or crew cut,
my guy, he like a military guy. He had like that, and he was wearing the when this happened, my altercation with him, it was when they were wearing those stupid cargo. He was always wearing the blue cargo, like as if he's camouflaging in the water.
Yeah.
Because I commented on it.
His name is Vic. I actually met him. He's a pretty cool guy, actually. But
if it's the guy that I took to court, he's not a cool guy, and he's a very sore loser.
I don't know. I met.
That's what happens when you go up against the great one, bro.
His name is Vig, V-I-G. I think he's Indian.
No. My guy's fucking French Canadian.
Oh, shit. No, okay, no, we're not talking about the same guy.
Oh, dude, my guy's the best, bro. My guy's a cunt.
The guy I'm talking about is actually in charge of traffic control in Parc-Ex. He works at the Parc-Ex station, and he's always, every time I see a cop pulled over with a gun, it's him. It's always him.
Hold on. Does he have is his hair gelled, glued to his head?
No.
No, you're talking about the Turkish guy.
No, okay. It looks like his hair is clipped, or it's like either crew cut or it's really cut short.
You know what I just realized? Because when I was yelling at the cop, it was yesterday, 2 days ago, when I was yelling at the cop here on Luckily, it wasn't because ours, the Parc-Ex, because I wasn't in Parc-Ex, so it wasn't a Parc-Ex cop. So this guy's probably used to people listening to him, and he's probably like, who are these people that are allowed to yell at cops? Who the fuck are these morons? Because they don't deal with it in other neighborhoods. Other neighborhoods all right, or whatever. Then us, we're like, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck.
I'm sure the police officers up in Anjou, Montreal North.
Oh, they have problems. They get yelled at.
They get their share of swears.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's not easy doing their job up there.
Montreal North must be tough.
Yes.
Remember when they were getting when they shot a kid and then they were getting shot at from roofs?
Villanueva.
Yeah, that sucked too. They shot him in a park.
Yeah. But that kid reached for the cop's gun.
Oh, that's what happened. Yeah, you're right. I don't remember that. Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah.
They had his brother on the floor. They were cuffing him, and that little kid went. It was the younger brother, man. He was like a 14-year-old kid.
That sucks.
He went to grab the police officer's gun. Like, where the hell? Like, that automatically you're getting shot. Like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? And that kid became a martyr after.
Yeah.
I mean, it was yeah.
But it sucks his his life ended. 14, bro. You could do so much. You have everything ahead of you.
But at the same time, man, look, you're hanging with the wrong crowd.
Yeah, but that's what happens. That's why there's so many stories like that.
You think cops are garbage and they're the enemy, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna grab a gun, and what are you gonna do with a gun? Like, think about it. What if he took the gun? What if he had managed to take hold of the gun?
One of those cops is going down.
You know what I mean? Or someone, maybe, who knows? Maybe he would have missed and shot his brother. I don't know. Anything could have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, Montreal North is definitely not. But again, I've met and worked with so many cops, and it's not easy. Honestly, the job.
No, like we fuck around too, but it's definitely not. It's it's not easy, and a lot of these jobs are not easy. But the thing is, because it's such a hard job, that's why I think that you need to have elite people doing it, conscious people, and people with empathy. You know what I mean? Because it's not an easy job. But we made it seem here, just because the training and all that, we made it seem like it's, if you want to be a cop, you can be a cop. But it shouldn't be like that. It should be one of those things like, I want to be a rocket scientist. Yeah, motherfucker, not everyone's a rocket scientist. That's going to take some work. All right? It should be the same thing. It should be not as a rocket scientist. I just mean that it should be something that we're well aware that it takes work. It takes discipline. You have to be a fucking good person and care about people to get into this, not just care about giving people tickets and tell them what to do. A lot of these guys that overdo their job, I often wonder, I go, why did he become a cop apart from telling people what to do? He clearly doesn't like people. He's just yelling and he's giving, you know what I mean? Like, are you talking back to me? Are you talking back? Like, these are not people that should have these positions.
But at the same time, look, they go through the training. If that training is enough, it's arguable, it's questionable, I get it. But they do go through intensive training.
But training for what? That's what I'm saying. So if they become the best runners, the best marksmen, how does that change that they're fucking assholes? Like, if you have the best surgeon in the world, but the surgeon's views on humans, like, you know what we could do with a lot less people on the planet? It would be nice if we could get rid of them. You don't want this guy being a fucking surgeon.
But it's not only the physical aspect. I mean, they go through psychological training. They're put out there and they're supposed to be ready for any situation. Obviously, the experience has a lot to do with it. But I mean, and especially these days, you know, it's so difficult. Imagine being a cop. It's funny that we're actually talking about this because yesterday night we were driving home. We went to visit some friends, and we're coming back.
I beat up
home.
A police officer.
it was around midnight, right? So, and we're driving through Parc-Ex actually, and there's this big black Escalade pulled over, and I turn around to my wife and I'm like, imagine there's black people in that car. You know what I mean? And we pulled up, and there were 2 black people in that car. So now listen. I don't know what happened, and I'm not judging. Maybe the guy blew a red light or a stop sign. I don't know. But imagine the police officers today.
Yeah.
In that situation, you are 100 times more careful about what you're going to say, how you're going to act, and that makes your job even harder because it's so easy for anyone to come out and say, "Whoa, you're racist."
We have a code 17. Oh, 2 black guys in an Escalade. I'm getting there.
Oh, God.
And again, look, I don't know. Maybe they were right to be stopped. Maybe
I don't know. Yeah, you know, you're right. You're right.
Just given the circumstances these days with everything happening, my mind went to that immediately, and I just thought.
I love how you're assuming they're very careful. They're watching the words, and then you cut to them. They're like, "Why did you pull us over?" Well, sir, in case you didn't notice, you're 2 black guys. It's like, God damn it.
No, but you know what I mean. And I just thought at that instant. You know, I'm sensitive to everything that's happening in the black community, but how careful are cops now?
I hope.
How much harder, of course, and it's a good thing, but how much harder did their job just become? You know, like they're susceptible now to everything, to every sort of criticism. Like
that does suck because for every shit cop, there's probably a lot of good cops that are like, son of a bitch, man. I've literally been doing my job properly, and now everywhere I walk, they're like, shut the fuck up, racist. So yeah, that does suck.
That's what happens.
They're being labeled, and you know, I mean, it can be easy. I mean, at some point, we're gonna have to look at these guys too. I mean, they're professionals; they know what they have to do, and it's gonna be complicated going forward. I mean, at some point, you know, the leaders of these communities have to sit down and just peacefully and, you know, humanely just have a conversation and say, listen, guys, this is what's been going on. How can we find a solution, and let's work together? You know what I mean? You can't just be going out in the streets, breaking shit and raising your voice and expecting the cops to just change. Because look, let's be honest here. Maybe the cops don't know what is needed right now. So at some point, we have to kind of elevate the conversation, the discussion. And, you know, I honestly think about all these good cops that I worked with and that I had to deal with. And I'm wondering every single day, what is going through their minds today? You know what I mean? If something bad happens and they're in front of a black person or a native person or an Arab or whatever.
Are they going to deal with it differently?
Every right to do that. What is going through their mind at that particular moment, in that instance? What are they thinking? Are they thinking, okay, I'm doing my job, or are they thinking, shit, are they going to call me a racist now? You know, are people walking by going to start filming me because the person is black? You know what I mean? There's all these things that I keep thinking about every day.
I do find it, it's not the same thing, but I remember Robin Williams when he killed himself? It was right when I had started comedy. It was like the first couple of years. And I remember people telling me, oh, you guys, you comedians, you're in this, you like to make people laugh because you're all very depressed and you're thinking about killing yourselves. And I was like, what? That is not at all true. I'm fucking super happy. What the hell are you talking about? You know? So I remember just that feeling. Now imagine amplified where people are like, you know, because of what you do, I know that you do this because you're a goddamn racist. It's like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? Because I remember at that point, I used to get upset. I was like, it's not true. I know plenty of comedians that don't even drink. Like, they're just, you know, there's nothing wrong. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, you guys are hiding something. It's like, what the fuck? It's that rule does not apply to everyone.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
Anyways,
it's the grouping mentality that I don't like.
The groupie?
The when you group people into one bucket
group.
just because
The
one
grouping.
person, you know.
Yeah, because the groupie mentality is a whole different thing.
No, I know.
The labeling is what I meant.
Yeah. He doesn't like labels. He's like, they always tell me do not eat best before. I don't trust these fucking labels. So, George, what are you doing? You got stuff to do this morning, right?
Yeah, and I just looked at the time and I was like, shit.
Yeah.
No, very busy. Usually the weekends for me is pretty busy, either with work or with a family.
Well, you just dropped a Backstage podcast that people need to check
there's
out if
two
they
that came
haven't.
out this week. Yeah, there's the Backstage podcast and the Just As Dad's podcast that dropped this week as well. So yeah, for anyone that cares, the Just As Dad is a weekly podcast. The Backstage podcast is every 2 weeks. And
so for the record, you guys are gonna have to stop doing these Skype things in a little while. You realize that, right? It has to end.
I think by next week or the one after, I'm lifting the quarantine here in my place, and we're gonna have.
Are you sure you want to be at your place? Because I'm building a second studio, some state of the art shit.
That. Yeah, what's going on over there?
So look, first of all, there's a chance we move. There's a chance. I was just informed that there's some fuckery afoot, and that we might have to move from the building completely. So I was gonna move alone, just build my studio somewhere else. But I think we're gonna go as a team. And if we do go as a team,
when you team, are you talking about Phil as well?
Yeah, Phil as well.
Okay, yeah.
And our stock specialist Harry. So we're thinking of doing that as a team. So we're looking at different locations. But yeah, because a lot of people were asking me about how to start a podcast, and then they were getting deflated when they heard the actual numbers to have a good podcast and all that. They're like, "Oh, that's unaffordable." And then I was like, "But it would be nice for some people to have some people have good stuff to say, you know." And then I was like, well, I have my old equipment since I'm upgrading. Maybe I could figure something out. So I was like, I'll just build a second room, rent that out. It'll pay for itself, all the equipment, and people will get started podcast. So for you guys, you guys would be in way better hands if you could you don't have to do anything. You walk in, the producer, who's going to end up being Poseidon, we're training him right now, produces the show for you, and then you get the fuck out. You got shit to do.
Yeah, where are you looking?
It has to be around central the island to the highways for people to get in. It has to be somewhere around there. I can't do it. Like people were telling me, oh, you'll find cheap locations. You could build it in fucking like Laval. It's too far. And then it makes it harder. But if you're in the middle, like even you, let's say you're coming, you get from one highway to another, and then you get off. It's easier. But if it's in some fucking hidden away place, it'll take you fucking 3 hours to get there. It loses its purpose. Yeah. So it has to be within around the highway. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the same strip, like around the same type of area.
It's a great initiative too.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it'll boost up a little scene here if we get, because there's some people that are very good that have something to say, just that they don't have the resources to make a good podcast. And if you start and your podcast is done from a cell phone and stuff, the audio is not proper, or they can't hear you, it doesn't help the image. And you guys, if you have a product that you don't have to worry about, you could just go in and do it. It's fucking way easier.
Yeah.
Plus with your schedules too,
Exactly. Keep us posted. Yeah. Keep us posted. Look, the advantage here at the house is that, it's here at all times, anytime, whenever we want. There's like a comfort, Yeah.
Well, same thing. The studios are going to be 24 hours.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Same thing. Just like it is now. I can't have a studio that's not 24. It has to be 24 hours. Because I don't know. Like, I like to structure my stuff now. Like I do. I had my Dave Landau podcast. It's on Patreon right now for everyone if they're curious. And, it's when are you free? We can do it, Like even Alex Jones, I'm setting up for an interview with Alex Jones, and it was the same thing. Like, what's your availability? I was like, honestly, you tell me when your availability is. It doesn't matter. I have the studio. I'm going to go in there. It's going to be all fucking fine. So you need 24 hours.
No, guaranteed. Yeah. Guaranteed.
So,
and also the fact that, people come over to my house.
It's weird too, man.
My friends, it's one thing. I mean, the Just As Dads, it's a completely different thing.
But what about guests?
Yeah.
It's
but,
weird.
We're not planning on having that many, but it is weird. It is weird, but at the same time, it's nice for that specific podcast just to chill with the buddies at home, and there's that whole comfort aspect. The other one, it is a little weird.
Also, you're worried about your loudness sometimes. You never know. Let's say they'll come, a kid's sick, or there's all kinds of.
No, there's all these obstacles that can come in the way for sure.
Yeah, no, I think having a place of business is the best. Like me, the morning show, I'm still doing it from here because I don't need anyone else. I'll just stream it from here. But I love going to the studio. I love having the freedom. You go in there, you can work. There's other people doing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're training Poseidon to be producing these things.
Yeah. Well, look, I've made it so that a monkey could do it. Like it's not hard. Especially like this is the hardest is this is where most of the problems happen when we're all Skyping in. This is the most difficult. When it's at the studio, the way I've set everything up, unless there's an error, like something gets unplugged or something, a monkey could fucking do it. Like I've literally, every button has a fucking image on it. You see what it does and who's in the camera and all that stuff. Like you can't fuck it up. So, and the more he does it, the more he practices, the more it's going to become easier for him. And then he'll be able to produce all the shows. All the people that rent out the podcast studio and want to do their shows, they won't have to worry. They could go in, do their show, and someone else produce it for them. Because it would suck too if you're renting a space and then you have to worry about editing it and doing all that shit. Now you got this guy live. Bam. Done.
Yeah. It's great. It's a great idea. Yeah. Keep him posted for sure.
I will. All right. Well, George, you get to your fucking work. I'll remember to check out George Chadrizo's the Backstage podcast. It's available. If you look in our description right now, you can find out all the links, and it is available on every major podcasting platform. And George, where they're going to follow you on social media? I think we have it up anyway, but
everything is there. You can just go on the backstagepod.com.
Oh, that's it. Yeah,
everything's there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. Pretty much on every single platform, and like you said, every audio platform as well.
Link is in the description, thebackstagepod.com. You go to that link, and then you could find all of George's wonderful musings. Thank you, G.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend, and take care, everyone.
Thank you, brother.
Ciao.
So, Mr. Poseidon, we're gonna end it shortly too. We're not gonna stick around too long. But look at you. You just went super big. But Mr. Poseidon, yeah, what I was thinking of, hold on, I'll just go straight to you. There we go, you're massive. So what I was thinking of, Poseidon, is before we call it quits, you have an announcement to make to people. What are you going to be doing later today?
Oh, yes, I have an In Bed with Poseidon at 4 p.m. today on Patreon only, patreon.com/Pantelis.
That's it, patreon.com/Pantelis. You're going to get the In Bed with Poseidon. Today he's going live at 4 p.m. For the patrons only right now, there is the video and audio version of the Dave Landau podcast. That was number 74. The Pantelis podcast, that's up on Patreon as well. Enter for a chance to win merch and all that fun stuff. You guys know why you're on Patreon. Don't forget about the Discord. The Discord's growing, and what am I going to say about that? That's its own thing now. It's growing into its own mutated community. I'm losing all control. Who knows what's going to happen in there? It's going to become a goddamn ISIS front at some point. But it's a lot of fun. So head over to the Discord. And we're going to see you guys tomorrow, actually, after the In Bed with Poseidon today. Tomorrow we'll be back on Pantelis Live. And I believe we will have a guest in studio. I believe Guido Grasso is back from his amazing adventures all around America. He just flew in yesterday, I believe. So he's supposed to be quarantining for 2 weeks, but we'll allow him. We'll allow him to come to the studio. Because I feel like, it's Guido.
At this point,
he's allowed to come to the studio. So thank you guys for checking this out. We're dropping it 20 minutes early today. Poseidon, any final messages for the crew?
Ciao.
It's not a goddamn message. We've already been fucking through this like 50
I know.
times.
I just like saying that. I don't know why. We love y'all.
All right, that's it.
And have a good day and a good afternoon and a good weekend.